So I have this obsession with passive income, I admit it. Anytime there's a new blog post, a new YouTube video, a podcast, I want to devour it. I always love to hear different people's perspective on how to earn, how to achieve passive income. And then I saw that a fellow YouTuber, Phil Towns, released his own passive income video, and I had to take a look. I have to admit, I don't even know who Phil Towns is. He's got some really good content on YouTube based on what he talks about, his topics, the way he presents himself. He obviously knows what he's talking about. He seems like he's a very wealthy individual, wealthy with his assets, also wealthy with his experiences. But I was really curious to see what he thought about passive income. So today, we're going to share parts of his video on passive income, and you're going to see my reaction on Phil's thoughts on passive income, and we're going to find out all of that right now.
Hi guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule Number One Investing. Today I want to tell you how to generate passive income. It's one of those words that people use and kick around a lot, especially at 2 o'clock in the morning on some kind of infomercial.
Yes, so true, so true.
Let's talk about what that really is and why people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett are sitting on billions of dollars and they only have 24 hours a day to work like the rest of us. How in the world do they generate all of that capital? In fact, the most wealthy people in the world, most of the people who are in the Fortune 400 in the US, certainly the wealthiest people in the world, like Warren Buffett and Gates, they didn't make their money from doing work the way we normally think about it. The way we think about it if you're going to work down to be a waitress at a coffee shop, or if you're working down at McDonald's, or if you're working at Walmart. That's, putting in work and getting paid cash for the hours that you're putting in. Hopefully, your work is contributing to the profits of this company enough that they want to keep paying you for it and they don't replace you with a robot, which is probably out there in the future for an awful lot of people. So
I really like where Phil's going with this, because I know we're talking about passive income, and oftentimes, even I talk about how, you can build systems, build processes, and get paid, when you're not actively involved. And, oftentimes we think of a Shopify store, we think of a blog, we think of YouTube. But the reality is that you got guys like Jeff Bezos and Warren Buffett where essentially, yes, they love what they do. They work a lot, but essentially, if they weren't there on a weekend, or if they weren't there for a conference call, if they took a month off and sailed the world, the business would still go. They would still get paid, and I'm sure they actually would grow wealth, while they were absent. So I kind of like the angle that he's going with this here.
So we got to talk more about a different kind of income, the kind of income very, very wealthy people rely on to continue to build wealth through the generations. And this is what we call passive income. It's not income that you do something for. It's income that comes to you a little bit more like planting a seed in the ground. You do the work to plant the seed, and then it just starts to grow in an exponential kind of way.
It's so true. And many people, though, they don't plant the seed. They don't even try to plant the seed. They can't even wrap their head around the concept. So the seed never gets planted yet. So passive income is never generated.
I guess my favorite way of thinking about passive income is what I experience as an investor. And they call it compounding rates of return, or compound annual growth rate. Sometimes you'll see the word CAGR, which is a Wall Street favorite for compound annual growth rate. And the key word here is compound. That is a growth rate where the money that you've put into the ground, that seed you planted, is actually growing money on the money. It's growing money on the money, like a seed starts to develop more seeds, which then go in the ground, which develop into more trees, which develop more seeds. It's a compounding power that is a startling way of generating an enormous passive income. And that's where Gates and Buffett and all these guys, and me, get most of our income. It's from not doing something, it's from doing something originally, and then that grows and grows and grows.
Now, I'm not really sure where he's going with this. Now, I would say this is where I'm not 100% agreeing with everything here, because Yes, I get it that, their income is derived from the seed that they planted. And it sounds like we're talking about compounding interest. And the thing with compounding interest to truly to benefit, from that growth, like you need time. You need time to generate enough compound growth to get the dividends, get the interest. So we're talking, if this is the angle that we're going right now, yes, passive income can be generated, but we're talking 20, 30 years down the road. Like, that's great and all, but like I'm thinking about like what can we build today that can generate passive income in the next 3 to 5 years, not 20 years from now. But maybe he has something else to share, but let's just go and keep going.
And frankly, the best way to do that in the world, the way that's created more wealth for more people than any other way, more even than real estate, is investing in wonderful businesses that continue to grow out of their own resources over time.
All right, so I like that. I like that. Okay, so we weren't talking about stocks. We weren't talking about, dividends reinvesting. We're talking about investing into businesses. So, okay, where are we going with this, Phil? I like this. I like this. I like this twist, this angle, play on this.
I mean, consider, for example, investing in Apple Computer right now. You go out and earn the money and you put this money into your investment portfolio, and so that's the work, right? And then you invest it wisely in a company, let's say like Apple. And I can use Apple right now because this is a company that Warren Buffett has just bought, I think ballpark 242 million shares of. So let's just say the greatest investor in the world knows something about what he's doing and that he finds Apple to be a great company. And we just follow him into it. Let's just say that we might do that. So now we own Apple Computer. Now what's going on is that Apple, the people who run Apple, are going to use our capital, in effect, and they are going to grow it by creating a rate of return. We call this the return on equity. So the money that's sitting in the company, which is owned by all of us, the shareholders, that money is equity. And Apple, using their genius with their huge moat of a huge ecosystem that I love. There's a Mac right here, right? Apple Watch and an iPhone, all of these things just work together, which is their moat. That Apple, with this giant moat, this durable competitive advantage, is growing my money for me, and I'm not actively involved. In fact, I'm very not involved at all. They don't even want me to be involved in growing my money. They're growing my money at over 20% a year, every single year, over 20%.
I'm not going to discount that, right? Apple is growing. It's a phenomenal stock, but once again, it works well when you're Warren Buffett. You can buy thousands and thousands of shares, but most of us don't have the initial capital. Even if we invested $1,000 to get that 20% return, we just made $200 in that first year. I see where he's going with this, but what I don't see this as having a significant impact on many of us that are just starting, to invest, that are just starting to save and to truly generate passive income here in the short term, not so much in the long term. Like, this sounds more like I would say the traditional way of, investing for the long term and buy and hold. But once again, could be wrong. Let's just keep going with it.
Over 20%, over 20%. This is called return on equity or return on invested capital. And this is the magic of compounding rates of return, is that they grow it at 20%, but the money stays in there. And then they grow the new pile at 20%. And now the new pile, which is bigger, is growing at 20%. And
so we're just talking about compounding interest. That's all we're talking about right now.
The new pile is growing at 20%. And here's the amazing thing. At that 20% return on equity rate of growth, in just 3.5 years, that whole pile has doubled. And now they're growing 20% a year on double the pile, of which mine has doubled as well. So this is passive income, and it...
Is it really?
Grows and grows if it's involved or if it's invested in a wonderful business. That's kind of by definition what a wonderful...
Yeah, he has outlined, granted, just for simplicity's sake, 20% return that will double your money in 3.5 years. Okay, you do the math, like that holds true. But to find a business, to find a stock that's going to actually do 20% return every single year without a correction, without a pullback, where you don't have direct control. Like he is talking about investing into a business where he doesn't have any say in the day-to-day operations. Like he's not even involved. Like, so he's basically, it's a passive investment that you're just kind of turning that money over. But to me, it's just now you're at the hands of their executives, their management team, their chief visionary officer. And to try to do that 20%, I mean, you're just giving up a lot of control versus somebody actually going out and starting their own side hustle, starting their own business, their own online business, where you can yield greater than 20%. Like that's the part that I get more excited about and what I like to teach people.
Wonderful business is all about. It's why we spend time learning how to pick a wonderful business, because wonderful businesses are by definition a business that is able to grow your money, compound your money completely passively for you at very high rates of return for very, very long periods of time.
But how are we gonna know if that company is going to do that? Like we can use Apple. Apple's an easy one to talk about, but the reality is that Apple may not be around 10 years from now. I know that is like crazy to think of, but the reality is like back in the early 80s, like they were almost non-existent. And it is possible that a competitor can come along and replace the iPhone. I know this is like crazy talk. Like I'm an Apple fanboy, but nothing is forever. We've seen tons of corporations, tons of companies that were in the S&P 500. They were the top 10, in the global economy that don't even exist today. It can happen, and chances are it will happen. Don't know if Apple is the unlucky one, but anyway, I think we're just talking a lot of theory right now. Not so much like just practical, just rolling up our sleeves and getting out of business.
And they can do that because they are in a durable competitive advantage to all the other companies in their industry, and because they're run by people that have integrity and talent and can continue to build out on that big moat. So finding a wonderful business like Apple, not so hard. There's a lot of wonderful businesses in the stock market. The next thing we need to do is just buy it at a really great price. The reason we try to buy things at a really great price is
yes, once again, that can happen, but it's to buy Apple at a great price. Like what is that price? Are we waiting for a pullback? I mean, now we're talking about market timing because we don't really know when that great price is. You could buy it today and it could be buy at a high and then it sits at its price for the next 3 to 5 years. Like you're not making that 20%. So that's just one of those things that it's just easy to say, but it sounds good in theory, but in practice, sometimes it's really hard to actually pull off.
To accelerate our passive income rates of return. So think about it. If this business is worth $200 and we can buy it at $100 because some event has happened, and then within a year it immediately springs back up to its real value, back to $200, we've just added a shot of serious adrenaline to our growth rate of our passive income. So this compound rate of return begins to explode for us, to go massively faster than even the growth rate that the company can provide. So for example, if I can buy Apple Computer for $100 and within a year it goes up to $200, as it has in the last year, and I can buy it so cheap originally, right? And then Apple is growing this $200 at 20% a year, or some high rate of growth, probably not going to be quite that high, but let's say at 20% a year.
All right, so we're going to break this down real quick. Let me just kind of get my thoughts, and I'll close out with my thoughts on Phil's passive income, make more money video right now. All right, so there is Phil Towns, his perspective on passive income. Just some immediate thoughts. What I heard, I feel like was more like the old school way when it comes to passive income. Now granted, it looks like Phil he is very knowledgeable when it comes to stock picking, maybe investing into businesses. I mean, he definitely has expertise there. But what I get really excited about, with the passive income that I've created for me personally is, through online businesses, through outsourcing, through delegating, through building processes, and just testing new ideas. And to me, like, I don't know if this is like the new school way of doing things, but it's the way that excites me. And also I've seen other people, I mean, thousands of other people create similar passive income streams. And I really felt when he was talking about how to find a business at a good price, you know, that there was a recent event and now it's half of its original value. You can buy it at a discount and it's only going to exponentially increase your profits. I mean, once again, like that sounds good in theory, but that's also me saying like, oh, you can just go buy a URL, start blogging, and then you're gonna be making $10,000 a month. Like, yeah, you can do it, but it's easier said than done. It takes a lot of work, takes a lot of research, it takes a lot of knowing the right people and knowing what to watch, because to have a company just drop 50% in value, like you have to be researching, you have to be talking to people, you have to be in the know, you have to have a network of people to share this with you. These are the types of things that typically just don't fall into your lap unless, you know, you're keeping up on it and you've got a circle of friends, a circle of influencers, a network that's going to make you aware that these types of things are occurring. I think the other thing that I also found interesting was, you know, we're talking about passive income, and a lot what he was talking about were gains. You know, buying a business at a certain price, buying a stock at a certain price, and it going up in value. But to actually generate income from that, I mean, you have to have dividends, or you have to start liquidating some of your gains, which there could be long-term capital gains, there could be short-term capital gains. That wasn't really talked about, but to me, if I'm thinking it's passive income, I'm generating something that is depositing money into my account every single month. That part really wasn't talked about, so that's why I was having a hard time trying to see this as the way to passive income, as like this is the best way, the greatest way to achieve passive income. Overall, I think he had a lot of good points, just talking about, you know, buying a business, buying a stock at a good price, and, you know, looking for those opportunities. Like that does exist. I mean, that is a way to make money, to build wealth. So I don't want to disagree. I don't disagree with that at all. I guess I wasn't totally feeling the passive income tie into this, especially, you know, compared to the ways that I see others achieving passive income nowadays. Me, you know, just showing people how to, you know, use online business, use social media, use technology, you know, use all these tools that are available to us that weren't around, you know, when Phil was, you know, starting his investment journey, whatever he started his career on. So I think, you know, my generation and younger, man, we just have so many amazing tools, amazing resources, amazing mentors that, you know, have achieved that type of success, that we can follow in those footsteps and look to them to see what they did and how we can take that, apply that to our own lives. I mean, that's the type of passive income that gets me excited. But am I the only one? What do you think? Do you think that Phil was on with his passive income? Is that what you think about when you think of passive income? Or is there another way? When you think of passive income, do you think of something different, you know, that I've talked about or that what Phil's talked about? Let me know in the comments below what you think about passive income and what the best way, what the easiest way is to achieve the passive income that you want for your life and for your goals. All right, y'all, appreciate you checking out this video. I love doing these reaction videos. I'm learning so much what other people think, so I'm having a lot of fun with that. If you want more of these, be sure to subscribe because I have more on the way. This is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome.